How does the tech that runs our world really work? We break it down to its fundamental truths. This is First Principles.
You're on your couch, laptop open. Tickets for your favorite artist just went on sale. You click, you pay, and in an instant, a confirmation email arrives. A digital ticket, a QR code, is now yours and yours alone. It feels simple, effortless. But in that single click, an entire hidden system spun into action. A silent conversation flashed between the ticketing site, a payment processor, a credit card network, and your bank. A series of centralized gatekeepers validating the transaction. Our entire digital economy is built on these trusted intermediaries. They hold the official ledgers that define who owns what. But what if we didn't need them? What if we could build a system for value, for ownership, for agreement, that required no central authority at all? That is the radical promise of the technology we're deconstructing today, the blockchain. And if you hear that word and immediately think of cryptocurrency and volatile markets, you're only seeing the first application. That's like looking at the first automobile and only seeing a horseless carriage, without imagining the highways and global supply chains to come. The blockchain itself is the engine, and it's a proposed solution to one of the oldest problems in human civilization. The problem of trust. How can a group of people, who may not know each other, create a single shared history that no one can alter? The common misconception is that it's just a complex database. The reality is far more profound. It's a blueprint for creating truth without a ruler, a ledger without a king. So today, we are going to open that black box. We'll build one from the ground up, using a simple story, to find the first principles that make this new world possible. The magic of the digital world, as we've known it for the last 50 years, is built on a single powerful property: perfect, effortless replication. If I have a photo on my computer, I can email it to you. Now we both have it. Not two halves of it. We both have a perfect, identical copy. The same goes for a text document, a song, a piece of software. In the digital realm, everything is infinitely copyable at virtually zero cost. This property is the engine of the internet. It's why information can spread around the globe in an instant. It's why we have social media and streaming music and a universe of knowledge at our fingertips. But this incredible strength is also a fundamental weakness when it comes to one thing: value. If I have a $10 bill in my wallet and I give it to you, I no longer have it. The value has been transferred. That physical object cannot be in two places at once. But if I have a $10 file on my computer, what's to stop me from sending a copy to you, and then using another copy to buy that concert ticket, and then sending another copy to my landlord? This is the classic double spend problem. And for decades, it was the central obstacle to creating a true native digital cash. How can you make a digital thing that is scarce, something you can't just copy and paste? For a long time, the only answer was to do exactly what we do in the physical world. We created a trusted third party. When you use PayPal or Venmo, you aren't sending money directly to your friend. You are sending a message to PayPal, the central authority, asking them to debit your account and credit your friend's account in their private, centralized ledger. PayPal is the one preventing the double spend. The digital file representing your money never actually moves between you and your friend. Only the entry in PayPal's master spreadsheet changes. We solved the problem of digital scarcity by recreating the old system of banks and intermediaries. We put a gatekeeper in the middle of the transaction. And then the blockchain arrived, and it demonstrated a new kind of magic. Suddenly, you had things like Bitcoin, a digital object that could be sent from one person to another anywhere in the world without a bank, without a PayPal, without a Visa. It behaved like digital cash. Once you sent it, it was gone from your possession and belonged to the recipient. It was scarce. It couldn't be copied. More recently, we've seen this concept applied to other things, like digital art through NFTs or non-fungible tokens. The idea that a JPEG file, the most easily copyable thing imaginable, could have a unique, verifiable owner seemed absurd. It violates our deepest intuitions about how digital information works. It feels like trying to stop the rain. How can you possibly create uniqueness and scarcity in a world defined by infinite duplication? This is the magic we see on the surface. It's the illusion that makes blockchain technology so baffling. It appears to do something that should be impossible. To understand how it pulls off this trick, we need to stop thinking about technology for a moment. We need to go back in time, long before computers, to understand the problem that we are really trying to solve. The problem isn't a technical one. It's a human one. Before there were banks, before there was currency, there were ledgers. Some of the earliest examples of human writing etched into clay tablets in ancient Mesopotamia over 5,000 years ago are not poems or epic myths. They are ledgers, records of grain, of livestock, of debts owed. From the very dawn of civilization, we have faced a fundamental challenge. How do we, as a community, remember who owns what? A ledger is simply a tool for collective memory. It's a record of transactions, a shared source of truth. In a small village, this might be simple. Everyone knows that Alice traded 3 chickens to Bob for a sack of wool. The collective memory of the community is the ledger. But as societies grow, that system breaks down. Memory is fallible. People can lie. Disputes arise. And so we invented a technology to solve this. A central authority. We designated a specific person or institution as the official record keeper. A village elder, a temple priest, a royal scribe. Their job was to maintain the master ledger, the single source of truth that everyone agreed to abide by. If you wanted to know the real story, you consulted the master ledger. This model has been astonishingly successful. It scaled up from clay tablets to the papyrus scrolls of Roman tax collectors, to the double-entry bookkeeping of Renaissance bankers in Florence, to the digital databases of the modern global financial system. But the core principle has never changed. We trust a central entity to maintain the ledger honestly, and therein lies the vulnerability. What happens if that central authority can't be trusted? What happens if the bank keeping the records goes bankrupt? What if the government printing the money debases its value? What if the record keeper is corrupt or incompetent or gets hacked? Trust in a central authority is a single point of failure. The entire system rests on the integrity of the one who holds the book. This is not a theoretical problem. In the autumn of 2008, this very system was shaken to its core. The global financial crisis saw some of the oldest, most trusted institutions in the world teeter on the brink of collapse. Lehman Brothers, a bank that had been in business for 158 years, vanished overnight. The trust that had glued the global economy together seemed to be dissolving. The system built on trusted third parties had failed spectacularly. And it was in this exact moment, in the smoldering ashes of that crisis of faith in centralized institutions, that a new idea appeared. On October 31, 2008, a person, or perhaps a group of people, using the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto published a 9-page white paper to a small cryptography mailing list. The title was Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. It was a blueprint for a system that could do what had previously been thought impossible. It could allow any two people, anywhere, to transact directly with each other without any trusted third party whatsoever. It was a design for a ledger without a king. The paper didn't just propose a new currency, it proposed a whole new way of creating trust. It was an answer to a question that had haunted us since Mesopotamia. How can we agree on a set of facts when we don't trust anyone to be in charge? And the answer Satoshi provided was the blockchain. So, let's open the box. Let's build one. Forget computers, forget cryptography, forget all the intimidating jargon for a moment. We're going to build our system using a simple analogy. Imagine a small, isolated village. Let's call it Ledgerwood. The people of Ledgerwood don't use traditional money. Instead, they trade goods and services directly, but keeping track of who owes what is becoming a problem. Their first solution is the one we've already discussed. They appoint the village elder, a woman named Agnes, to be the official bookkeeper. Everyone trusts Agnes. When Alice gives Bob a loaf of bread in exchange for a promise of 3 eggs tomorrow, they both go to Agnes, and she writes it down in the official village ledger, a big, heavy book she keeps in her house. This works for a while, but then Agnes gets old, her handwriting gets sloppy. She makes mistakes. One day, her nephew persuades her to change an entry to erase his debt. Suddenly, the trust is broken. The system collapses. The people of Ledgerwood realize they need a system that doesn't depend on trusting a single person. So, a young inventor in the village named Ben comes up with a new idea. Instead of one central ledger, he says, let's get rid of it. From now on, every single household in Ledgerwood will have an identical, empty notebook. This is the first and most fundamental principle of a blockchain. It is a distributed ledger. There is no master copy. Everyone has their own. The record of transactions is shared among all participants in the network. Now, when Alice wants to give one of her special custom-made wooden ducks to Bob, she doesn't go to an elder. She stands in the middle of the village square and shouts for everyone to hear, "I am giving 1 duck to Bob." Everyone in the village, Alice, Bob, Carol, David, everyone, hears the announcement. They take out their personal notebooks, turn to a fresh page, and write down the transaction. Alice gives 1 duck to Bob. Now, everyone's notebook has a record of this event. The ledger is public, and it is synchronized across the entire community. This seems promising. It's transparent. It's redundant. If one person's notebook gets destroyed in a fire, it doesn't matter. There are hundreds of other copies. But we've immediately created a new and very serious problem. What's to stop Bob, who is a bit of a scoundrel, from going home and secretly writing in his own notebook? Alice gives 10 ducks to Bob. Or what's to stop him from going back to a previous page and changing a transaction to his benefit? If every notebook is independent, how can we be sure that they all stay the same? How do we enforce honesty and prevent tampering in a system with no one in charge? This is the core challenge. Giving everyone a copy of the book is the easy part. Ensuring that everyone's copy remains identical and true over time is the hard part. The solution to this is where the real genius begins. This is where Ben, our village inventor, introduces his second big idea. He calls it the Unbreakable seal. It's a concept he borrows from an old mathematical trick. But for the village, he explains it like this. At the end of each day, they will bundle up all the transactions that happened that day onto one page of their notebooks. This page is what we would call a block. Once the page is full, it needs to be sealed. And this isn't just any seal. It's a special kind of magic wax seal. Here's how it works. You take the entire text of the page, every single transaction written on it, and you put it through a special sealing machine. This machine is deterministic. It's a mathematical function we call a cryptographic hash function. For any specific input, it will always produce the exact same unique output. This output, this seal, is a short string of letters and numbers, like a unique serial number. For example, the text "Alice gives 1 duck to Bob" might produce the seal 5BQ9L2 if you change even a single letter on the page. If Bob tries to change 1 duck to 10 ducks, the sealing machine will spit out a completely different, unrecognizable seal. It's like a digital fingerprint for the data. It's incredibly sensitive to any changes. So, at the end of day 1, everyone in the village takes the list of transactions, runs it through the sealing machine, and gets the exact same seal. They stamp this seal at the bottom of page 1. The page is now verified and locked. But here comes the truly brilliant part. This is what puts the chain in blockchain. When they start page 2 on the second day, the first thing they write at the top of the new page is the seal from page 1. Then, they list all of day 2's transactions below it. At the end of day 2, when it's time to seal this new page, they don't just put the new transactions into the sealing machine. They put the new transactions plus the seal from the previous page into the machine. This generates the new seal for page 2. Do you see what's happening? The fingerprint of page 2 is now dependent on the fingerprint of page 1. The seal of page 3 will be created using all the transactions on page 3 plus the seal of page 2. Each new block is cryptographically linked to the one that came before it, creating a chain of blocks that stretches all the way back to the very first transaction. Now let's go back to our scoundrel, Bob. He wants to go back to page 1 and change "Alice gives 1 duck to Bob" to "Alice gives 10 ducks to Bob." He makes the change in his private notebook. But as soon as he does, the seal for page 1 is now incorrect. The original text produced seal 5BQ9L2, but his new text produces something completely different, say 8CF4P7. He thinks, no problem, I'll just put my new fake seal at the bottom of page 1. But the next morning, when everyone in the village is getting ready to start page 3, they all shout out the official seal from page 2 to make sure they're on the same page, so to speak. Everyone else's page 2 was built using the original honest seal from page 1. So their page 2 seal is, let's say, K2R8T3. But because Bob's page 1 has a fake seal, when he created his page 2, he had to use that fake seal. As a result, his seal for page 2 is also different from everyone else's. The discrepancy is immediately obvious. The chain is broken. For Bob's lie to be accepted, he wouldn't just have to alter page 1. He would have to recalculate the seal for page 1, then recalculate the seal for page 2 using that new fake seal, then recalculate the seal for page 3, and so on, for every single page that has ever been added to the book, all before the village adds the next legitimate page. This chain of hashes makes the history of the ledger effectively immutable. It's not that the past can't be changed. It's that it can't be changed without everyone else instantly noticing. The ledger is secured by its own history. The further back in time a transaction is, the more subsequent blocks have been chained on top of it, and the more secure it becomes. It would be like trying to change the foundation of a skyscraper without anyone in the penthouse noticing. It's computationally infeasible. So, we have a distributed ledger, and we have a way to chain its pages together to make it tamper-evident. We're getting closer, but there's still a huge gaping hole in our system. How does the village decide what goes onto a new page, and more importantly, in what order? Alice shouts, "I'm giving a duck to Bob," and at the exact same moment, Carol, across the square, shouts, "I'm giving a pie to David." Some villagers might hear Alice first and write that down. Others might hear Carol first. We could end up with different versions of the new page. And an even bigger problem: who gets the authority to calculate the official seal for the new page and announce it to everyone? If anyone can just bundle up some transactions and shout out a new seal, we'll have chaos. We need a way for the entire community to reach a consensus on which block is the next official block to be added to the chain. And we need to do it without a leader or a central coordinator. This is often called the Byzantine general's problem, a classic computer science thought experiment. How do you get a group of disconnected actors to agree on a single strategy when some of them might be traitors? How do you create order without an order giver? The solution that Satoshi Nakamoto implemented for Bitcoin is called proof of work, and it is arguably the most misunderstood and most brilliant part of the entire system. Back in our village of Ledgerwood, Ben announces the final rule. To earn the right to add the next page to our collective book, he explains, you must be the first person to solve a very difficult puzzle. What kind of puzzle? It's not a clever riddle or a test of intelligence. It's more like a lottery, a pure brute force guessing game. Ben says, I will take the text of the proposed new page, and I will add a random number to the end of it. Your job is to find a special magic number that, when you add it to the page text and run it all through our sealing machine, produces a seal with a very specific property. For example, a seal that starts with 10 zeros in a row. There is no shortcut to finding this magic number. The only way to do it is by guessing. You try the number 1, run it through the machine, check the output. Nope. You try the number 2. Nope. Number 3. Nope. You have to just keep guessing over and over, billions, trillions of times, until you stumble upon the one lucky number that produces the desired result. The process is incredibly difficult and requires a massive amount of effort. In the real world, this effort is computational power which consumes electricity. But, and this is the key, once someone finds the magic number, it is trivial for everyone else in the village to verify it. They just take the proposed page, add the magic number the winner announced, run it through the sealing machine once, and see if it produces a seal with 10 zeros. The work is hard to do, but easy to check. So now we have a competition. All the villagers who want to participate, let's call them miners, start working. They gather the latest transactions they've heard shouted in the square, assemble them into a candidate page, and start frantically guessing magic numbers, trying to be the first to find a winning seal. This is the work in proof of work. It's a race. Let's say a villager named David is the first to find a valid magic number. He immediately shouts to the entire village, Eureka! I've found it. Here is the completed page 27, and here is the magic number that solves the puzzle. As soon as he does this, all the other miners stop their work. They take David's proposed page, check that all the transactions on it are valid, that Alice actually had a duck to give, for instance, and then they verify his solution to the puzzle. Since it's easy to check, everyone confirms in seconds that David is correct. Having verified David's block, they all officially add it to their own notebooks as page 27 and immediately start working on the puzzle for page 28, building on top of the chain that David just extended. This elegant system solves all our remaining problems at once. It provides a fair and random way to choose who gets to add the next block. It's not the richest or the most powerful villager, but whoever gets lucky and does the work first. It also forces a consensus. Because so much effort is required to find a solution, it's extremely unlikely that two people will find a solution at the exact same time. The network quickly converges on a single, shared history, and it makes the chain even more secure. A malicious actor like Bob would not only have to recalculate all the seals from the past, he'd have to win this proof-of-work puzzle for every single block, outracing the combined effort of all the honest miners in the village. This is practically impossible. The longest chain is, by definition, the honest chain, because it represents the largest amount of work expended. Honesty is memorialized in the sheer computational weight of the chain. We've done it. We've built a fully functioning, secure, decentralized ledger. We have a system where a community of strangers can maintain a perfect shared record of who owns what. Without having to trust any single member or leader, the ledger isn't secured by a vault or a guard. It's secured by transparency, cryptography, and the collective work of its participants. But there is one final piece missing. It's the piece that turns this clever academic system into a revolutionary economic engine. It's the piece that provides the deepest aha moment of all. Why on earth would anyone participate in this? Why would David or any of the other villagers spend their time and energy frantically guessing numbers day and night? It's a lot of work. What's in it for them? We could assume they are all public-spirited citizens working for the good of the village, but a system that relies on altruism is a fragile system. The real genius of the blockchain, the unseen giant that holds the entire structure up, is not the cryptography or the distributed networking. It's the economics. It's the incentive structure. The system is designed to make cooperation the most profitable strategy. Here's how. The rules of the Ledgerwood system, which everyone agreed upon at the start, include one special clause. The person who successfully solves the puzzle and adds the next page to the book is allowed to include one extra transaction at the very top of that page. In this special transaction, they can award themselves a brand new, freshly created wooden duck that never existed before. This is called the block reward. Suddenly, everything clicks into place. The miners aren't working for free. They are competing for a prize. The act of securing the network, of performing the proof of work, is the very same act that creates new currency. This is how bitcoins are minted. They are the reward paid to the miners for the service of validating transactions and adding them to the blockchain. This creates a powerful, self-sustaining loop. The more valuable the currency becomes, the more people are incentivized to become miners. The more miners there are, the more computational power is dedicated to securing the network. The more secure the network is, the more trustworthy and valuable the currency becomes. And most importantly, this system elegantly aligns individual self-interest with the collective good of the network. A miner like David has two choices. He can be honest, play by the rules, try to win the puzzle, and collect the block reward. Or he can try to cheat. He could try to create a fraudulent block that, for instance, transfers all of Alice's ducks to himself. But for that block to be accepted, he still has to solve the proof of work puzzle. And even if he does, the rest of the village will quickly check his block and see the fraudulent transaction. They will reject his block as invalid, and all the time and energy he spent solving that puzzle will have been completely wasted. He gets no reward. Cheating is economically irrational. It is vastly more profitable to be an honest participant, to contribute your work towards securing the network and collect the rewards, than it is to try and attack it. The system bootstraps trust, not from faith in people's good intentions, but from a perfectly logical, game theory-driven calculation of greed. It takes a network of strangers who don't trust each other and channels their self-interest into producing a result that is, in the end, completely trustworthy. This is the real first principle. The blockchain is not a technological breakthrough. It is a socio-economic one. It is a machine for creating consensus out of chaos, a system that manufactures trust. So let's retrace our steps. We started with the seemingly magical ability to send digital value without a middleman, an act that seems to defy the copy-paste nature of the internet. We saw that this was a response to the age-old problem of trust, a problem made starkly clear by the financial crisis of 2008. We then set out to solve this problem ourselves, in the small village of Ledgerwood. We started with the first principle, a distributed ledger. We gave everyone a copy of the book, creating transparency and redundancy, but that introduced the problem of tampering. So we added our second principle, a cryptographic chain. We used magic seals or hashes to link each page to the one before it, making the ledger's history tamper-evident and effectively immutable. But that left us with the problem of consensus. How do we agree on the next page to add? This led to our third principle, a competition. Proof of work. We created a difficult-to-solve but easy-to-verify puzzle, ensuring that only one person could add a block at a time, and that the entire community could quickly agree on the result. And finally, we uncovered the engine driving it all, the incentive. By rewarding the winner of the competition with newly created currency, the system ensures that it is always more profitable to cooperate and secure the network than to attack it. The security of the blockchain doesn't come from trusting its participants. It comes from the mathematical certainty that the majority of them will act in their own financial self-interest. It is a system built for a world of strangers. Understanding this journey from first principles changes how you see the world. You begin to see the hidden architecture of trust all around you. You see the banks, the lawyers, the governments, not just as institutions, but as centralized solutions to the problem of coordinating human activity. And you realize that the blockchain offers, for the first time, a viable alternative. It's a new tool in the toolbox of civilization. It's not the solution to every problem. It's slow, it's energy-intensive, and in many cases, a simple, centralized database is still a much better tool for the job. But for the problems that hinge on trust between competing parties, whether it's managing global supply chains, verifying the authenticity of luxury goods, creating transparent voting systems, or building a new global financial architecture, it represents a paradigm shift. It is a way of writing rules into code, of creating agreements that are enforced not by courts or by power, but by the cold, impartial logic of mathematics. It allows us to build systems that are, by their very design, auditable, transparent, and resistant to control by any single entity. The first application was money, but the underlying idea is far bigger. It is a technology for making and keeping promises.
You've been listening to First Principles. Until next time, stay curious.